So I did football, and you guys always make fun of me for it because I say I played.
Welcome to the Forged in Wyo Podcast. My name is Forge Master Ben, and with me as always is Chancellor Perry and Mike Alzheimer, and our very special guest, Mason Secor.
Thank you guys for having me. It's wonderful to be back on the podcast, not as the host. But.
Just an absolute honor to have you here, Mason. I just feel like I don't get to see you enough sometimes, like every day and the weekends. And
nope, we never hang out.
But actually, it's good to have him on because, one, we kind of want everybody to start who has not met him yet, kind of figure out who Mason is and his story, where he's come from. Most people know him. I mean, he's pretty loud, obnoxious. Likes to get...
Okay.
This is a cautionary tale to avoid him.
Yes.
But first...
Don't come talk to me.
Before we start...
You must sniff.
You must sniff.
Well, thank you.
Here, me and Mason will share one. Oh. Man. Ready, boys?
Yep.
Shake, shake, pank, pank. Come here.
That was worse. Oh.
Mine's dead again.
Oh, what? I thought that was a brand new one.
Oh, my God.
You want to hit
That was worse, dude, trying to split it up.
That was a good warm-up for the cry. I'm sure we're going to cry this episode with Mason.
It's all puffed up.
I know, dude.
Ow.
Ready for the tears, boy. This is going to be a heartfelt episode.
I love you guys. Oh, my gosh.
Tears of
That was
pain.
worse.
Well, where do we start with Mason? I mean, I've known him and his family since I was going to college in Bozeman.
The Bozeman days, yeah. I think starting there, because you guys started out as trainer and protege.
Yeah.
And how old are you, 15?
16.
16
Yeah,
when
16
you
when
when
I
you started training.
He looked like he was 14, but...
Yeah.
I was lean and mean at the time.
Still like a 6-foot goober.
Yes,
16.
raggly. But, no, actually, Mason, I started working at that Prime Physio in Bozeman, and he was working with another trainer at the time, and just, you could tell from the outside looking in that his trainer and him, they just didn't mesh very well.
No.
Like, so, at one point, he was, the trainer was about to give Mason up, and they were asking the room, and I was like, I'll take him. So I started working with Mason and his dad at that point, and just kind of went from there.
Yeah, we became really, really good friends. Had you over for steak dinners plenty of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. And then I met Michael, too, there while he was doing, your PT,
Yeah, your
hours.
Papa Brian had tweaked his back deadlifting, so...
Started working with Mike, right?
Yeah, I started rehabbing him for his low back, and I actually hopped in with you and your old trainer, not Chancellor, and
I remember
watched Mason pull a PR.
Yeah. I pulled 405 and thought I was the biggest guy on the block, and I looked over to Michael and he was just
Unimpressed,
no emotion on his face, and I was like,
The same exact scream that he does now when he hits PRs. He was doing that at 405.
Yeah, I mean it was a milestone at the time.
Yeah,
16 years old pulling 405.
That's still a big pull, and we're not going to discriminate against that at all. It's cool that you had the passion. So I think that's immediately why I was like, I could train him.
Yeah,
because I feel that. I know when you're excited because you're seeing some progression and moving forward like that. Sometimes it's just you gotta let the rage chat out.
oh yeah.
yeah. So what's kind of your history? I mean, obviously you trained a Chancellor when you were 16, but what got you into it in the first place?
Yeah, so I did football, and you guys always make fun of me for it because I say I played football, but it was in middle school that I played, and I played up until 8th grade, and then I went into high school, and then
That was a long career, Mason.
yeah, super long career. I could have went pro, but bum me.
Stopped right at the top.
Well, I was playing football, and my dad really wanted me to go into it, and luckily he's super supportive on whatever I do. But I was doing the summer training, and I just completely got roasted. I had for one of the workouts, I had pizza, blueberries, 0 water for one of the workouts, and I just went in there, puked my guts out, and I was like, yeah, I don't think football's for me.
Too much cardio.
It was way too much. We ran that field
so did you
much.
quit that day?
I told my dad after that practice, I was like, I do not find this enjoyable. Yeah, I was like, please don't make me go back. And he was like, okay, well, one of the rules was you could either play sports or you could, get a job. So got a job instead, and I was just kind of being super, super lazy, playing video games as I always do. And he was actually gone on a trip to Utah, and I started kind of just working out with the dumbbells he had at his house. And I just was like, I kind of enjoy this. And I actually went to my friend's house, and we lifted in this really crappy setup. He had like this very thin bench.
Like the 70s style bench.
Very thin. It had 1 rack height, no safeties on it, and it was super unstable. We had it on like wood. And we started working out, and I just really started enjoying it. And I told my dad, I was like, I want to start getting into working out. And then I went to a few Fuel Fitness in Bozeman for a while, and then I started like getting a lot of pain in my hip because I was just squatting horrible technique. I still have some of the videos on my phone, but just the worst technique. And I was telling my dad, and he was going to Prime at the time for his back, and he found a lot of progress there. And he hired me a trainer, which is very, very supportive because, having a trainer is a little bit of a luxury, and especially training a high school kid.
100%, man.
Yeah.
So I started getting into that more in the powerlifting realm rather than just going to the gym and do a couple machines and leave. Started really enjoying seeing the strength progress and kind of seeing my body change from the super scrawny kid to becoming a little more, musculature surrounding my body, even though I was like barely 200 pounds and 6'1" at the time.
Yeah.
And then I trained with my first trainer for a while, and then I think he actually was going. He kind of quit doing training, and then I was going to be kind of left in the dust. And then Chancellor was like, "Yeah, I'll train you."
Chancellor just reaches his arm down.
Just like my savior, I'm reaching up towards Chancellor, and he took me, and
the dark side.
And then you were doing PT on my dad.
Yeah.
And we all just got along super well, and I started training with him, did my very first powerlifting competition under Chancellor, then started actually conjugate under him too. I remember we had a discussion in what was the MSU mess hall.
Yeah.
And we had a competition on who could eat more.
Yeah.
And I won, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Just like our race too.
Yeah, the chow hall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
all you can eat, man.
it was really good. And then I just remember him sitting us down. He's like, "This is going to be the best program you guys will ever run. We're going to do max effort days, and you guys are going to max out every single week." And I'm like, it's a little scary, but now we're still doing it to this day, and I love it. But
yeah, and I think, the cool thing was getting Mason after he'd already worked with another coach was pretty big because he already had a pretty good baseline for the fundamentals. Obviously, there was some shit that, I disagreed with as far as how technique could work, but he's very coachable. Right away, him and I just clicked. I didn't have to say something 10 different ways for Mason to understand it. I'd say how I thought it, and he'd pick it right up. And the biggest thing with Mason that I had to teach him, and something that his other trainer kind of didn't, was just grit. Sometimes you just got to push, brother. Because when I first met Mason...
Okay. You make it sound way worse than it actually was.
Let him tell this story.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. The floor is yours. Sorry.
When I first met Mason, he was a young kid. He hadn't really pushed himself that hard. He would hit his PRs, but they didn't look like a grind. It was never a max effort work, but it's not to discredit him. That's what his coach was telling him. He was running an RPE system. And more often than not, you're not going to program an RPE 10. So there's no true max effort work there, which powerlifting is max effort work, teaching your body how to grind. So it was more of teaching him the mentality that you will not break when you push hard. And there's a few times that Mason and I kind of collided, and he might have thrown a few tissy fits, and I would tell him, "All right, this isn't for you. Why don't you go do bodybuilding?
Yeah,
go home." during
back
a
was
session.
injured.
Yeah, go home. Whatever. He'd be like, what? I go home, man. Obviously, it's not for you. You said you can't do it. Don't do it. And he'd just look at me, and I'd be like, I'm serious. Go.
That's like Coach 101. You want to like encourage your clients, but Chancellor's a little bit different. He's just like, I injured my back doing conventional pulls. Of course, I had just terrible technique, and yeah, I injured my back pretty bad, and I was just moping around the gym.
No, it was more like,
yeah, I'm
just kidding. It wasn't that bad.
I was moping around the gym, and I was just like trying to get pretty much pity from everybody. Chancellor did not give me any pity. He was just like, that's exactly what he said. He was like, dude, fine, this isn't for you. Go home and rest and never come to the gym again if you want to be that way. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. I was
good.
And I stuck with it. So
yeah, so he pushed through that. So the cool thing was kind of watching him build this. Like, he's got an iron mentality now. Like, from where I met him to where he is now, it's like two different people. We call him the callus around here. Like, you can just brag on Mason, and he will take it well. Like, he'll take it better than me. I'll get pissed.
Yeah.
And like, he's even better at that than I am now, which is cool because you kind of watch him change. And I think I said in a different podcast, and I don't know if this is just a habit of mine because I was his coach for so long, but I am the first one to call Mason out when I see him break down. He could be doing better than me, and I'll still freaking rag on him. I'll be like, dude, what the hell was that, man? Your background on that pole, are you not tight? Like,
yeah, no.
And he'll take it, and guess what? The next set, and I think it's just because how long we've worked together, he'll do it better the next time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He might get pissed off at me. Probably think I'm a crotchety old dick sometimes, but no. So that relationship kind of like really meant a lot to me. So when I moved away, the hardest part was not having Mason and Brian as my crew.
Yeah.
Because like I was at Prime in Bozeman. I'm not an introvert. I don't go out. I don't go do things. Like, my crew was pretty much Brian and Mason and Nelson.
Yeah.
That's all I hung out with.
Yeah.
I wasn't going out downtown to the freaking whatever the hell that popular club is in Bozeman, and I wasn't going out to the bars. I was focused on my career, my schooling, and lifting, and that's who I hung out and surrounded myself with. So moving away from that, you're pulling that kind of that mentor mentality away, which I took very seriously because I'm watching this kid that at first I was like, there's no hope for you, dude. Just go home. Turn into just an absolute like anomaly. Like Mason is absolutely insane for his age.
Yeah.
Far exceeds where I ever was. Far exceeds where you ever were.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of that could be because, one, he had coaching and training and the luxury of having a coach, but two, it's just a lot of that's because of how he can learn and adapt and evolve and how he can accept criticism and he can make the adjustments. It speaks more about his character than the privilege of having the coach. Because a lot of kids can have a coach but won't be as receptive and eager to learn as Mason is. Mm-hmm. So when we moved away from that, dude, it was like almost heartbreaking for me. Like I was messed up about it. Sorry. And, like, just like Mason, his dad is the same. And, like, let's talk about Brian for a second. Like, if you imagine Mason about 2 feet shorter.
10 times more handsome.
Oh, literally looks like.
Way better beard.
Like Zeus. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, just a nice, trim Greek god.
Yeah.
With a beautiful beard and the perfect hair. And just the nicest guy in the world, and that's where Mason gets it from. So when I moved away from that, dude, like, I just remember having the thought that, like, dude, Mason could kill it. Every person I've trained here doesn't have that same mentality, that same passion, fire. Mason does, and that's what I want as part of my team. Mm. So when Mike and I hit the ground running and we were to the point where we needed more help, that was my first thought was, I wonder if we could get Mason down here.
Yeah, and then you were in high school, obviously, still,
Yeah.
when we were starting up the gym. So that conversation started, maybe 6 months or so before you graduated, or
Yeah.
a while before, right?
I don't remember when I called you, Mason. When was that?
Yeah, it was my senior year. It was sometime on the weekend. I was just gaming, and I got this rant, and I kept in contact because you were still doing like our programming, and we talked on a regular basis. But yeah, you called me out of the blue, and I never get calls from Chancellor. And when I do call Chancellor, he never answers. And when I text him, he never answers unless it's on Instagram. So that's how you reach him. And but yeah, I just got this random call, and I was like, oh, this is weird. I picked up the phone, and Chancellor's like, hey man, I got kind of a weird question for you. Would you want to become a trainer at Forge in Wyoming? Like, would you move down here? And I said, oh yeah, absolutely, I would do that. Like, no second thought or anything.
He's probably still gaming.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure, whatever, dude. Yeah, no, I set down the game, dude. It was an important conversation.
Pause.
Fine. You can't pause online video games.
I know, I'm sorry.
Come on. But yeah, no, you called me, and I told my dad later that night when he got home from work, and he was like, okay, well, if that's what you want to do, I'm going to support you all the way. And we pretty much immediately started looking for like housing and stuff, and I was originally going to live with you guys.
And
But
Street,
on
yeah.
Fifth Street, that was not going to happen.
No.
I'm glad I practically lived there for a little bit when I first moved down.
Yeah, he did.
But Chancellor was not too happy with me. We'll go into that story a little later. But yeah, I was an early grad in high school because I just wanted to get out of there. And yeah, I graduated. I found the first place I could and packed all my stuff, moved down here, and I had to pretty much work 2 jobs, do like my 1 hour a week personal training at 5 a.m. That was my very first client, was Val. Shout out Val.
Yeah. Val Green.
Yeah. And I was late my very first day too. Because I got caught by a train.
That train is notorious.
It is. Yeah, that was bad
as to why we're late.
Yeah, when it was on Broadway, it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I moved down here immediately, and I had a second job that sucked. I did not want to work that at all, and Chancellor tore into me a little bit when I was dragging ass on that.
We could talk about that story a little bit. That's
Yeah,
a fun
go
one.
ahead.
This is just part of the sculpting Mason and man.
Yeah.
Well,
Sculpting.
I knew the person who hired Mason, and
They trained there at our
Yeah,
gym,
they were
so
one of
we
my
knew
clients,
them. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
well, one day Mason's sticking around after his client, and usually he'd be rushing off to work. And I was like, what's up, dude? No work today? And Mason's just sitting there eating. I don't know, some,
Sandwich.
yeah.
Sandwiches.
I almost think it was one of those cinnamon roll from the Silver Spur.
Oh, the Calamity Jane.
Jane.
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah.
Just sitting there feeding his fat mouth, and he just goes, they said they'd call me when they need me. I was like, okay. Sounds reasonable for a job to say, I'll call you when I need you. So I talked to him, and they're like, well, he said he couldn't come in until, what was it, 8, 9?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, he's up at 5. If work starts at 7, he should be able to get his ass there. So I talked to Mason, and he goes, yeah, well, I need time to eat. I was like, come in my office.
Dude.
Come here and sit down. I was like, when a boss says, I'll call you when I need you, that means they don't
Major
effing need
red
you.
flag. Yeah,
Right? Because you're not showing any worth.
Yeah.
I said, you call them today. You tell them you'll be in at 7 when everybody else shows up, and you'll pack a lunch or a breakfast before you come to your client. Eat it on the way there if you have to. He did, and guess what? The next day they called him when they needed him
Yeah.
because he was ready to show up to work.
No, that's kind of, I think everyone kind of needs that. It's hard to find people like that because you kind of get a bunch of, I think yes men, that's kind of a common phrase that everyone uses. I think you definitely need those, but you need those people who kind of kick you in your teeth like when you need it. Because I definitely kind of pulled my head out of my buttocks there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had to get it dialed back in because I, of course, wasn't making a whole bunch of money, and I burned a lot of savings on that first house that I got.
Yeah.
My mind was, if you're not going to work, you got 1 hour a client, how the hell are you going to stay down here and make this a career?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you weren't thinking that far ahead.
No, I was not. I just didn't want to work.
But he quickly learned.
Yeah.
And he moved on, and he made it work, which is a huge testament to who he is as a person. Because I'm going to tell you, I had to go to the military when I was 17, 18, because I was just going to party it away. I wouldn't have been able to make things work and work 2 jobs, and maybe I would have, but I wouldn't have been able to do my dream job right out of high school. Mason, you got some pretty funny stories, I think, of those days or getting kicked in the teeth, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Has Michael ever been upset with you?
I don't think I've ever seen Michael necessarily upset at me. I've gotten under his skin.
In your head, free.
I always give Michael shit and try to rile him up, but he's got a stone face, so I try to get under Michael's skin, but it usually never works, and then I just act like I am, and he's like, "Yep, dude, you're in my head." Yeah. No, I don't think Michael's ever gotten mad at me. He's definitely the more relaxed business partner, for sure.
Yeah, a little bit.
If I mess up, I prefer to go to Michael first and then have him explain it to you. But there's a bunch of funny stories. I think the first one that I remember of us clashing heads was when I was trying to deadlift 605 for the first time.
Yeah.
And you were yelling at me, and because I failed it multiple times before, and you're like, "You're just going to fail it every time, or you're going to fail it this time like you do every single other time." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Am I now?" And I got it that night, and I just set it down, turned off my camera, looked over to Chancellor, and screamed some curse words at you and said, and you were injured at the time, so I think you didn't even pull that night or something like that.
Stopped. Yeah.
And then you got all angry, and we didn't talk to each other for like 3 days.
No, that's not how it went.
And then I came in like the bigger man I am and apologized to Chancellor.
Sounds like Chancellor has a different side.
Yeah, of course.
That is in Mason's fantasy.
He always has a different side of the story on anything.
No, okay, I was a little upset after that, because I was just rounding you up, and you got it, and it worked. And the next day he shows up, and he's not even looking at me, and I just... And I finally was sitting on the bench, and he's over there just not talking to anybody. People are trying to joke around with him. I'm like, "Dude, what's wrong with you, man?" "Well, you hurt my feelings." I was like, "Well, I'm sorry, dude." And I gave him a little pat on the back, and we moved on. But
nope.
Yeah,
I remember I went into your office, and I apologized to you about how I acted, and you're like, "Dude, it's okay."
Yeah. Something like that.
A little tear came down.
Only you two will know. Yeah. Nobody else was there to witness.
I know. It's always a battle. But
I think only one time I've really, really said something probably not super nice to Mason was the time I was late.
Oh yeah, you want me to do it?
You go ahead, dude.
Yeah, I was walking in. I came in at like 7, and he had a 5 a.m. client that he was. You slept through the 5 a.m. and you were late for your 6, like a half an hour late. Note to self, luckily now I have enough clients, and we all kind of, we never, you still take 5 and 6 a.m.s, which I don't know how you do that.
I'll take a 6 every now and then.
Yeah, 6 every now and again, but I don't want a consistent 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. because it is the worst workout time possible.
And it just destroys your trainer. Like if you go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, like we lift until 9.
Yeah.
You're going to bed at 10:30, 11, you got to get your ass up at 4 in the morning. You would become a monster, dude. And I was a monster during this story.
Yeah, and so I walked in, I had a 7 a.m., walked in, and I'm just chipper as can be walking in. Like, "Oh, good morning. Chancellor's like on a box just sitting with his hood up, just staring down at the concrete. And I'm like, "Chancellor, good morning, dude. How you doing?" And he just looks up at me. He's just like, "How do your teeth feel?" I was like, "What?" I was like, "That doesn't make any sense." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "How do your teeth feel?" I was like, pretty good. And he's like, okay, if you want it to stay that way, keep walking. Just in his, and Chancellor has this I think very few people get to see it, especially if you're training them, but just the eyes of fury. You've seen it before, of course. Mm-hmm. But it's just like this piercing gaze that you can just tell that he has, that it's just like, if you don't walk away from me in 10 seconds, I'm going to sock you in your face. I got that look just clear as day.
First thing in the morning.
And I just walked up to Michael. I was like, dude, what's up with Chancellor? And he's like, you were like, yeah, he slept through his 5 a.m. and was late for his 6. And I was just like, oh, okay, that's why. So I kind of just steered clear from Chancellor that entire day.
Yeah, and then the moral of the story is the Chancellor doesn't do 5 a.m.s anymore, or will ever do them anymore.
So don't ask.
Yeah, for everyone's benefit there.
Yeah, I can handle maybe once or twice a 5, 6 in the morning, but dude, when we were doing those every single day. Mm-hmm. And then taking our last clients at 6:30 and then lifting till 10, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. That's brutal.
Yeah, no, it sucked.
I think the thing is, dude, and here's my point. And morning workouts, I get it. People need to do it because of work and family and everything. But you're going to the gym fasted and dehydrated. You're not ever going to be as powerful as you can be in the morning. And 2, it's just like, if you are an early bird, that means you're going to bed at like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So, like, don't come at me, grandma, grandpa, for your early bird. I'm a morning person. Well, because you go to bed, like, when I eat dinner. Like, come on, get out of here. Some of us have other stuff we got to do.
Like game on Wednesday and Fridays.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, so Mason's been just a huge, like, blessing to the crew, because you kind of, like I said, you kind of sculpt him into the employee and the man that you want to be, because I mean, he's with us 24/7.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's a quick learn. I mean, he picks up even like rehab stuff from Michael. Mm-hmm. You know, there's sometimes he'll take, I know I said these in other podcasts, the same cues that I'll teach him, and he'll spin them in a different way to somebody else, and I'll hear him be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's a good way to say that.
Yeah.
But overall, just because he's a yes man and he's willing to work, you know, he kind of sees the vision here, and he sees what it can be, and he, you know, I never have to question if I think Mason will help out. I know it's just a phone call away if I need it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely kind of, and I kind of wanted to touch on this subject anyway, that like the small business aspect of it. And it's like you guys are at the forefront of it, where it's like you guys are always like working on the business. There's always something to do on the weekends. It's kind of slowed down since we've opened up like this part, where it's like, yeah, you don't have to, as we called it, you don't have to slay a dragon, such as rebuilding the oldest building in Sheridan to fit a gym. But it's like, I think it definitely, because I've had a few people ask me, especially like my grandparents and, you know, family, they're like, why are you working so much? It's like, well, it's a small business. It's like it's not just going to grow itself. And I think that's kind of what it takes to like grow in this kind of realm too, where it's like personal training. It's like I came here, had to work a second job for probably like a year and a half before I even actually had enough clients to be like, oh, okay, I can just do clients and make a living. It's like it takes a little time to build reputation. But then like working on the weekends, it's like I just want to let you guys know, it's like, yeah, I'm invested in this. It's like I'll do whatever you ask. It's like, yeah, if we need to lay concrete on the weekend in this place, I'll be there. It's like we need to move equipment around, I'll be there. We need to do a deadlift event on the weekend, I'll be there. I think that's kind of what it takes to be a part of a small business that's still growing, is like you need to show that you're willing to put in the extra hours, right? And be almost in a sense like not like an owner, but you want to kind of be like, yeah, I'm ready to just put all into this kind of business.
Have some responsibility on your shoulders. And I think it echoes in every small business that you have to have someone like Mason, you know, and it's not like Mason's ever forever just going to be our employee. He's part of this as much as Mike and I. I mean, he's bled, he's put in the work, but to, you know, graduate to that, you know, higher tier, the echelons of being you know, this being your baby too, that's the sacrifices that have to be made. Those are the sacrifices that have to be made.
Well, and we alluded to that in the other podcast, but like Chancellor and I can only take this so far. There's almost so much manpower and time and energy that
and
we
we're
have.
getting old, dude.
Yeah, and we
Oh,
need
you
it.
guys
Yeah,
are so old, dude. 30 as well.
but it really is, and where we've gone and where we started. If there weren't people like Mason, if Mason hadn't joined, like we wouldn't even have the capacity to do it. Like we wouldn't have been able to transition to the Ironworks facility without somebody like Mason.
Yeah.
Because like I said, with just the two of us, that would just not been possible.
Yeah.
We didn't have the time or energy or just how much work it took. And
Where Mason picking up my clients when I needed to get all
Go
the
to the
gym
shop.
equipment ready and
Yeah.
welded. And
yeah, and it's a testament to Mason's character again, because you know, coming from high school and then stepping in the real world, and I honestly like in what we see nowadays in terms of work ethic and people having that,
it's
and
pathetic.
and for his age to even, I mean, as he just said, have that perspective of like, I'm joining a small business and I want to be part of it growing, right? Like he's not just showing up for his training client, heading home.
He doesn't clock in, clock out.
Like take my paycheck. And, you know, I think that's something that we were able to see with his passion and dedication, like even when you were training him.
Yeah.
But, you know, you never know until you really bring somebody on board how they'll act. And
Well, yeah, we've learned that lesson many times.
we've had to cut other people go. But
Yeah.
Mason, he's like 110% in. There's just no
Don't look at me
doubt.
when he says that. Sorry, continue.
You never know.
And I
You're
think
fired.
I think as an employer, the hard thing is, and that's something I don't think you can teach, is that work ethic and drive. And Mason's not somebody where we have to motivate him to work, or you know, we don't have to convince him.
I might have to tell him
and
he
sees-
ain't doing it right a few times. But
Yeah.
nobody's doing it right.
he ain't doing that right.
He ain't doing
Troy
that
boy's
right.
saying there.
He ain't doing that right. Yeah.
But you can't teach that, and if someone's not willing to, as the employer, and trying to motivate or force people to or pressure them into it, it's going to ultimately fail. But with Mason, just being willing to do that and not having us required him to like pull him into it, but he's already just right by our side invested. I mean, for us, and what I'm realizing as time goes on too, with having employees and some that failed and some that didn't, like that is essential, especially again for like a small business that's starting out.
Yeah, it's almost as if he was born with the sense, or, you know, like just had the sense when he showed up of this is not a job. This is a career.
And an
Right?
opportunity, right?
This is something he's passionate about, and something, you know, if you ask Mason, it's like, well, what else would you do, dude?
Yeah, I don't,
Exactly.
I
So
don't
it's
think
like
I would
this.
do anything
You know,
else.
he has the opportunity, presented himself for something that, like, how rare is that, right? You could get right out of high school and do what you wanted to
want
do,
Yeah.
It's very rare, and that's
and he saw it right away. So he treats it, and continues to treat it more of a career than a job, right? His mind, his priorities aren't on other things. It's on living, breathing, and bleeding Forge. You know, so much so that he's sacrificing. You know, he moved away from his family. He's moving away. You know, he's
You did turn down going to college or getting
Yeah.
an education or even like a backup plan, right?
Yeah.
Like as much as Chancellor and I kind of made this like our sink or ship, like if we're
Yeah.
going to make it or not, this is it. Mason jumps on board with us, right?
Yeah.
And doesn't have a fallback. And
Yeah.
you know, it's if this is what he wants is in terms of a career, like this is make or break.
yeah.
And he knew, and I think he understands that, obviously he does, and this is the way he's acted, but he knew it was an opportunity and he's responsible for his part in it, and yeah, took advantage of it and didn't waste it. And I think what's unique with Mason too is at his age, yeah, because so many of us, one, we don't know what direction we want to go, and then we lose focus and prioritize things that, you know, aren't as important as your career or future or your passions, and we kind of get lost in the works, right?
Yep.
But Mason he has his head on straight and is always looking forward in the right direction and has that perspective of what he wants to do and his vision and goals, and he's, for his age, to stick through that, you know, the way he has is impressive.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, I always make the analogy, you know, because I'm a Trek nerd. It's like if I had to describe Mason in terms of Forge, it's like I'm Captain Picard and he's my Lieutenant Riker. He's my number one, right? Like he's there to support us.
Wait, repeat that one more time, Lauren. If you're listening to this,
Number
did you hear
one,
that?
right?
Number one
In terms of
Number one.
business. Right? But, you know, he's the guy that's always stretching his neck out to make sure that we don't have to.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, like it's just, you can't find employees like that because most people don't look at jobs as careers. Right? You got to kind of wait for those people to come to you, which is like impossible. So we kind of got lucky right off the get-go with our first ever hire. But
yeah, I got a nice little pep talk from my dad while we were driving down here with all my stuff, and he was just like, he's like, "Okay, you're going all in on this place. It's like you better not, drag any ass. It's like you better put your head down and do whatever they tell you to do. If like they need you to clean toilets for weeks on end, you're cleaning toilets."
We can do that, Brian.
Well, not anymore, right? Because I'm number one.
Yeah.
And he can.
Sounds like you're cleaning number 2.
Yeah, but yeah, no, my dad's definitely been a integral part to just, I think, my work ethic and kind of keeping my priorities straight. Where it's like, just even though he let me quit football, okay, but it was like he saw that I had passion in the powerlifting, and he really built me up, hiring a personal training person, and taking that extra step, and just always kind of being on my case about working harder. It's like getting my nutrition right, and then like I said, when I moved down here, be like, hey, you need to give these guys all you got, because it's like we're not moving you down here for you to fail and have me move you back. It's like that's not happening. You're staying down here. So
gave you the man speech about it.
Yeah. So it's definitely helpful having a guy like that on your team.
And believing in it, what you're doing.
100%.
And then Brian's our, the biggest fan.
Yeah,
they're always wearing Forge swag up in Bozeman.
Yeah, FFA. He's a fan from far away.
Yeah.
But he's, if we can talk Brian into getting down here next, maybe we could just get rid of Mason.
Yeah, he would be a way better trainer than me.
That's dream.
Small goals.
I told him whenever he retires, or if they ever build a Costco in Sheridan, which that would be pretty sweet, he said he would move down here.
Yeah.
But whenever it's in the cards, I think he definitely is thinking about moving down to old Sheridan, Wyoming.
Yeah. Well, and he's right. Like, how you started, it was starting just shadowing, and then you were helping clean the gym, and you were doing all the yes man things to help out. But I think it's cool to see too, and what you've built in us in terms of like trust, right? Like what you can handle, what you're responsible for. So not only filling up your clientele, but where we're at now with Ironworks expansion, and then our old location, which is next door at 350 A Street. Kind of talking about that, like what we're developing and growing, and that's Mason's baby, the Forge Fleet.
Forge Fleet classes, the Forge Fleet classes are a really cool deal. It's pretty much like you have a personal trainer within a group, and we had just testimonials that Ben helped me out recording and trying to not make me look too stupid on there. I learned interviewing it's very hard. I learned interviewing is very, very difficult when you're just sitting right across. Well, thank you. But we have some testimonials up about just people kind of explaining what the Forge Fleet's done for them. But the Forge Fleet class is pretty basic. You get 3 times a week at a cheaper price than personal training, because I know a lot of people it is a luxury, but we want to help people out on still getting that luxury at a cheaper price. So that's pretty much the Forge Fleet class in a nutshell. And you also get an open gym membership too with those 3 times a week, and it's in a group setting. So the group settings I thought were kind of going to be a little weird, but I actually like them a lot because I have people in just from like each spectrum. Like one of my clients, Carson, is getting hyped up by like one of my clients, Jan. It's like these people who would never talk on the street are like talking in the gym, like getting each other hyped up for lifts. It's really cool to have people in that kind of group setting, because it kind of reminds me of when we train. It's like we're always like critiquing each other, or we're always just hyping each other up, especially when we get to the bigger lifts. But it's a really cool environment. So
it's allowing you to still get that like trainer's eye and getting the cues and techniques down, and also they all have their own program, right? It's not like your typical group class where something's written on the wall and everyone's just jumping in doing the same thing, whatever skill level. It's like Jan's going to have this program, Carson's on this program, and the numbers and the lifts.
Yes, exactly.
And then having in a setting, and I think that's what's cool about the group class too, is like as Mason's talking about, is like having that like kind of community aspect where you get to like cheer each other on. Like the one-on-one with the coach is excellent too, but also too it's like your friends and family and making new friends and kind of growing within, getting to know the other people at Forge, and it does build like a sense of like, yeah, this is my crew, this is my hour, this is my slot with these guys.
Another cool point too is I always kind of tell people it's like they're actually growing a little bit more, because with personal training it's like, yeah, you have a whole hour with that one person like watching you, with like me watching you or Chancellor watching you, kind of getting your hand held, which is not a bad thing. People need that. But with this, it's like I'm still there to kind of guide you along, but it's like you kind of get a little more independence. Like you kind of understand a little more things like doing it by yourself, because I'll be like, hey, hit these accessories while I go talk with this person. It's like you kind of get a little more independence that way. So like when you do utilize your open gym membership, you're not just like, what do? I don't have my personal trainer here. It's like, oh, I've already done all this stuff relatively by myself. Like I'm still in the vicinity, but they kind of grow a little more independent, which is a good thing. And I think we've discussed too, where it's like we don't want to, with personal training, it's like we don't want to just like keep you sucked in for years upon years. It's like we want to try to grow your knowledge in the gym so you can go
become a little more independent,
off by yourself. It's like, so when you do go into the open gym, you're confident in what you're doing, you're confident in your technique, you're confident in what accessories you're choosing. So it's a really, really cool class, and I've been enjoying teaching it.
And and even with that, that's I think Mason mentioned, but one of the perks of the Forge Fleet class is you get an open gym membership with no additional cost.
Yeah.
And then in the sense of like the community aspect as well, we have like, that's our program with like the referrals too. Yeah. So if you were in the Forge Fleet class and you want and know somebody that you think would be a good fit, if that person is signed on by you, like let's say Jan referred somebody, then for us, and as a thank you to you as a client for helping grow that class, if that person signs up, it covers your cost for the month. So you get that month on us if that other person joins your class. So you can find friends and family and kind of create your own groups and classes that you'd enjoy working with. And then we want to give you guys a little kickback for helping grow that class and getting your friends and get their butts into gear to join the gym.
No, it's a cool program. I like doing it.
And when you're thinking about referrals too, right? So I always tell my clients when I'm talking about referring someone for personal training one-on-one, this is the same as it would be with the group classes. Think long and hard about the individual that you are going to refer, and see if they have it within themselves to put that same level of attention and discipline into something, right? Because the hard thing is we don't want a bunch of referrals where someone's not going to indulge in the process, not going to believe in what they're doing. They're just there to check the box. They might get a little ways, but they're not going to truly find what it means to be a part of that class, or what it means to be a part of Forge, or what it means to have a coach, if they aren't the type of person that's going to really dig into it. Right? So like when you're referring people out, just keep that in mind as well, as, hey, is this person, is he kind of a flake? Is this, like maybe not that person.
Yeah.
Find the
right people, because we want them to get as much as this as you are getting out of this.
Yeah.
So usually when I tell that to somebody, 9 times out of 10, that person they refer to me is an absolute stud, just a killer, and they make leaps and gains in progress. And it's just because that's the kind of person they are, and everybody knows who I'm talking about on the other side of the spectrum, right? The one that's like going to be kind of like, maybe cancel, whatever. They're not going to make any progress, and they're not going to really take the value of what they're paying for.
Yeah.
But I think moving forward, what are some of your goals as far as the business and your own lifting career, either lifting or outside of the gym, whatever?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing is to grow the Forge Fleet classes, and then we're also renting out that other building to people. So like Kristen Redderith, she's doing like a volleyball training group in there. So she's been renting out that building. So I think trying to expand it out, because people want spaces and we still have workout equipment in there. So I think expanding the building out that way, getting more people kind of put into there so they can run their own classes, that would be really good. And then just growing the Forge Fleet classes is pretty much my main goal. Just trying to extend the super good deal that we got to people and just kind of show them the Forge Fleet class. And it's really cool because they come more times a week, so it gives me more opportunity to coach them, make them better, and
as opposed to once or twice a
get
week,
them way stronger. Because it's
yeah.
way harder to train somebody one time a week than it is, 3, because I have more opportunity to do different things, and then we can play catch up too. If we miss some accessories on one day, we can add it in on the other. But I think that's probably my main business goal, and then I think for lifting, just beat Chancellor on the board. That's the main thing.
You will.
Eventually. Yeah. But I'm really looking forward to this powerlifting competition we're having May 3rd. Because I think, you're doing the deadlift on it, so that will be cool. And then Chancellor.
Yeah. We'll see if I do.
We'll see if he does it.
Depends on the shoulder.
Survives the peak, yeah.
I know Ben's doing it.
Not at all.
Ben, that lovely voice, is the announcer.
Yeah, he's the announcer. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I want to definitely just try to get a pretty much across the board 9 for 9 and get some PRs along the way. But yeah, I just want to show out and show that the Forge guys can lift some huge weight.
Walk the walk.
Yeah. That's the main thing, is try to beat Chancellor.
Yeah, he will.
He's already knocked me off the second place spot, so one more to go.
It might take a little while, but you'll
my bench is lacking just horribly compared to my other lifts, but I'll get there. But yeah, that's pretty much business goal. Lifting goal is pretty much set.
Yeah.
You have anything else you want to add, Mason? Anything you want to tell people? Anything you want to shout out?
Shout out the Forge, dude, straight up. No, I just want to, thank you guys for, of course, taking me in as a 18-year-old kid and giving me the opportunity to
be a 22-year-old kid.
Yes, be a 22-year-old kid working at the Forge. But yeah, no, taking the opportunity, hiring me,
You'll
teaching
always be
me.
A baby in my eyes, dude.
I know. But yeah, just teaching me, always kind of, telling me what the right way to do things, and just showing me what actual work ethic looks like. Because I see you guys in here all the time, either working, doing stuff on the back end that a lot of people don't see. So it's, especially when we were getting the Ironworks building up, that took a lot of hard work. So, and I remember you guys saying, it was oh no, you can, if you want to have the weekends off, you can. It's me and Chancellor will be here working. I was no, I'm not going to do that. I'll be there with you guys. But yeah, no, just thank you guys so much for the opportunity.
Yep.
And then shout out Ben too.
Yeah, thanks, Mason.
Because he's a good guy. He's really good at doing the front desk work.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
That's how you're going to phrase it, huh?
He's the Forge master.
He's the Forge master.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I think you guys are doing a very good job, especially we got some, Reagan's a really good PT. And then Grant just came on too.
He's still killing it.
Still killing it. Everyone loves him.
We'll hear from both of them.
Yeah.
In the next coming
Future
episodes.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably do a little bit more of just kind of the community members too.
Yeah. Really cool.
See if we can get them on the podcast. Some people have some crazy stories in this gym, and a lot of them are very inspirational. I can think of a dozen in my head just right now of people I'd like to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much Mason in a nutshell. Obviously, he didn't have any other plans outside of Forge and lifting, but that's okay, because that's really what we need.
Yeah.
Someone who eats, sleeps, and breathes this.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not looking forward to asking Ben that, because I'm sure it's going to be the complete. I'm just kidding. He's like, step 1, get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But if there's nothing else to say.
No, I got nothing.
This has been the Forged in Wyo podcast. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Facebook. What else we got? Is that all of it?
That's it.
I think so.
That's it, dude.
At the end of the day, build yourself, conquer adversity, and repeat daily. Do these things and you will lead a great life. Punch the mic.
Boom.